Gonzo, international break has been and gone. Did you enjoy it?
I did. Thought it was very exciting. I'm sure it was for yourself as well.
Not really, no. Did you watch both England games?
I did. They have reinvigorated my what's it for watching England. So I'm enjoying it. It's a good time to be an English football fan. You're doing good things, Southgate. Yeah, good fun, mate. To be fair, normally I hate international weeks. I don't watch international football, and there's no West Ham, but it's been pretty good.
Well, I was looking forward to it, actually. I thought Kazakhstan and San Marino, surely they were going to win both games. Nice, good start to the group. Well, no, someone had other ideas. 3-0, we got beat 3-0 by Kazakhstan. Scotland somehow played Kazakhstan and San Marino and came out with a negative goal difference.
Did you beat San Marino?
Yeah, 2-0. I mean, just beat them as well. It wasn't good watching. It was scary at one point. We scored in like the 4th minute. But we didn't score again until, I don't know, the 80th minute or something. But in between there, San Marino came close a couple of times, and the commentator kept reminding us of the fact they've not scored a home goal in about 3 years. And you thought, okay, stop it, because I do not want this to happen. So, yeah, international break, I normally enjoy it. I didn't really enjoy it this time. But I watched Declan Rice, his half an hour on the Friday night, and then his full game against Montenegro. What did you make of him?
He played like Declan Rice. I thought he was neat and tidy. I thought there was more zip to his passing than Eric Dyer. I think he can do everything Eric Dyer can do, but he's a bit better at interceptions. I think there's more zip to his passing, and he's got a football brain as well. I'm pretty sure Southgate would have been delighted with what he saw.
Yeah, I said to you, I said it's an easy game for Declan Rice to start his first game for England on Monday night. It's an easy enough opponent. He wasn't tested too much, but he was tested enough to sort of say, what have you got? And he responded very well. You know, the best passing stats in the whole England team that started the game, and the substitutes, actually. But it's only good. I know some people say, well, he plays the easy ball, but that's his job. He's a defensive midfielder. He's not there to create. He's there to give the ball to the creative players. And if Declan Rice is able to pass the ball to his teammate 97% of the time he's got the ball, then Callum Hudson-Odoi, Sterling, Sancho, whoever it is ahead of him, is going to have the opportunity to then to press on and do what they're on the pitch to do. So he did his job very well. It was an easy enough game for him. He only really made 2 errors, if you like. One guy skinned him in the first half and he brought him down, but it was the right foul to make. He brought him down well in their half. He got skinned. It happens. Then the second one was a really bad pass in the second half. But he went and won it straight back, and that was his only misplaced pass. So for someone under the microscope, and Hudson-Odoi was as well, they both did fantastically well. I thought they both come out with flying colours, and Southgate's very educated gamble paid off. I'm pleased for Declan Rice because there was a lot of pressure on him. Both players had different circumstances, i.e. one had never started a Premier League game for his club, but he was starting for England, and then the other one obviously with the Republic of Ireland thing. And they both responded well. Mature head on young shoulders for both of them. So, yeah, well done, Declan. Just before the England games, did you see the social media outroar, if you like?
Mate, I came off social media, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago. So unfortunately, I'm not seeing anyone reacting to anything at all. So it was more political to with politics, but as an upshot of that, I'm not seeing anyone reacting to football. So what happens? You tell me.
On Instagram, I think 2015. So Declan would have been 15 or 16 years old.
Oh, I did. Sorry,
yeah, someone seen him reply to a mate of his saying up the RA, and there was a bit of an uproar saying it was a very edgy social media post from him. Do you think this is just the world we live in? It was blown out of proportion a little bit.
Well, blown out of proportion, and every youngster nowadays has basically everything they've ever done archived because that's how youngsters communicate now. Youngsters often, I've got a 14-year-old daughter. I've seen her in a room with her mates, messaging her mates, tweet, not tweeting, but whatever the various different apps. So, a lot of jokes now are now up on social media, and they're there forever. And you don't get to live an innocent life these days. And I mean, thank God, every joke I made as a youngster, as a teenager, isn't there for one and all to see. Not that anyone give a shit now, but because I've not become a famous footballer, but I still got to live my life without it being under the microscope. I'm not going to go for a job one day and a boss is going to be able to look through everything I've ever thought of. It's crazy. I do worry about that. Declan was in a foreign country playing for, let's be fair, he is an English lad. He had been he'd been called up by Ireland, so he's with a load of Irish lads, and he's probably trying to fit in. He's probably trying to be a bit funny. He's probably trying to be a bit flash. How many times have we all, as kids, tried to be a bit funny, a bit flash, and got it wrong? And he got it wrong, but he was probably desperately trying to fit in and seem like one of the lads. I think he's guilty of that. And whilst I didn't see the social media fallout, I certainly heard them talking about it on the radio on Talk Sport, and I thought they handled it quite maturely and saw it for what it was, which was a kid spouting off. We all matured an awful lot, didn't we, between the ages of 15 and 20? Anybody that didn't has probably got some problems.
It's all about context for me. If he made that comment today, a 20-year-old lad now representing England made that comment, yes, I would perfectly understand if people had an issue with it. But he didn't. He did it as a 15-year-old representing Ireland at the time, and he genuinely thought it was sort of words of support to one Irish teammate to another Irish teammate. He genuinely thought it was sort of like how we always say, "Come on, you Irons," or something to each other, or "Up the hammers" to each other. He genuinely thought it was that version, but an Irish context, an Irish teammate. And you need context of his social media post, because no one had a problem with it until he switched to England, which sums it up really a little bit for me. I just thought the bad thing about it all, if you like, was the fact that Declan felt he had to apologise for it, because 90% of people could see it for what it was, and no one really had an issue with it. But we live in this world now, so what are you going to do about it, Declan? Well, he had to say sorry. Do you know something? I actually hope he doesn't mean he's sorry. I actually hope he's just done it to be politically correct, because he's got nothing to be sorry for, in my opinion. He did something he thought was right at the time, and it's a post he wouldn't make today. So where's the issue? He made it in 2015. But it was just one of these strange things. It comes up just before he starts playing for England, just before he's away to make his first game. And I just thought, luckily the English media didn't take too much of a deal to it, because it's like another young player in the English setup. Are you really going to start bullying this person? Because they do have history of bullying people. Raheem Sterling's the number one person at the top of that list, and the media do essentially bully English players. You thought, oh, here we go, Declan's now going to be the next victim of it. Fortunately, it wasn't. It is all blown over now, but also myself and Gonzo haven't done this for a couple of weeks, so we're speaking about everything that's happened in the last 2 weeks. But something that's happened tonight, or today, Gonzo, I sent you a clip because you're on social media. I said, you need to watch this. For those who haven't watched it, it's on Instagram, but people have sort of saved it and put it up on all the social media. Markonovic has done a video with a third-party media group, Daz N, or I think is how you pronounce it. And there's a 1-minute clip being put on his Instagram, and he pretty much says, people need to respect me as a human being. If you had a job offer, would you not consider it? And he phoned some fans and said, you must respect me. And I can't remember what else. That was pretty much the brunt of it, right?
I mean, well, let's cut to that respect thing first of all. Again, in the modern age, everybody demands respect. Nobody seems prepared to earn it. So you've got to earn respect. You don't demand it and then it is given. That's not how respect works. Just not. I think the first video was one video too many. For somehow them to be advised to do a second video, I think is a little bit silly. If you're gonna do it,
it's into context. Sorry, this isn't through West Ham United. This is not.
No, I know. I got that. Well, I watched the clip. I don't even know. I don't know how to use Instagram. I got it. I could see that it was something else. But he's clearly felt the need to do a video. And if you are going to do a video, we discussed it with Nasri, then do warts and all. Say everything. Because what you're relying on, and what Arnautovic is relying on, is all of us being stupid and having short memories. Well, he is. He's basically here, I'm going to put this out. It's quite nicely edited as well, isn't it? If you look at the cut scenes, it's got the judgery edits, the transitions. Very, very nice. Nice piece of video editing. But while he's commissioning that piece and getting somebody to edit it very, very nicely, he's being, to use one of Nigel's words, slightly disingenuous there. Because actually, it wasn't just all about him going for another job. It's not just all about you or I being offered another job. Yes, of course, we would go for it. If he's going to do it, you're going to have to speak about your brother, mate. You're going to have to speak about everything that came out, about how actually you've tried to engineer a move a couple of times. You're going to have to say, you're going to have to pass reference to the fact, actually, when you made that statement, the initial statement wasn't about you being offered more money. It was about you being West Ham's saviour, saving us from relegation. And because of that, you were wanted to go to China and win some trophies. So if you're going to do it, address the whole lot. Don't just say, you know, if you want respect, get out on that pitch and earn some respect by playing well. Because quite frankly, since this happened, he looks like he can't be asked. He needs to do his talking on the pitch. We'll do the videos, right? And he goes out and plays football because we can't play football, and quite frankly, he can't do videos.
I'm not saying we can do videos either, to be fair. But we'll give it a bash. The thing with I thought was weird. He says, "Oh, I deserve respect as a human." No one has said anything about not respecting you as a human being. We accept that you're a human being. That's not the issue here. What people have a lack of respect for in terms of you and that, which is your disrespect for the fan base and West Ham United Football Club. No one said you're this person or that person. We're not talking about you as a person, as Marko Navic, as a dad, as a family member. We're not talking about that. We're talking about you as a West Ham United footballer, the way you have gone about honouring your contract. That's all people have been saying. So when you first started talking, I thought, you've completely, if you think this is the issue, you've completely misunderstood the fans. And if you say at the end of it, I spoke to fans and I tell them, you must respect me. Well, maybe those fans should have said to you, Marko, you've got it all wrong, because if you disrespected, yeah, if you were disrespecting a human being, then you need to go back and read it all again, because you've picked up completely wrong. No one has an issue with it. No one has an issue with you perhaps wanting to go to China for more money. I don't actually have an issue with him doing that. It's the fact that he lies about it. That's what I've got an issue with, thinking, like you said, thinking we're all stupid. So it goes back to the West Ham board a year ago and stuff. People used to say, what have they got to do? And we said, just be honest. You know, the claret carpet's not turning up. Just tell us the claret carpet ain't turning up. Don't say, oh, it might be in for the next game. Just tell us it's late, it's delayed or something, because we will find out eventually, and then we'll think, well, they bloody lied to us. Just be honest. And then we've got no cause for argument. We can't really have a go at the club. We can say you've messed up a little bit, but what we can't say is you've lied. And Marko Navic is doing the same thing again. He's trying to mislead us. It's almost like he's going on the offensive with that little clip. I actually found he had a little bit of attitude, and you said he needs to be honest and stuff. I actually think this is the honest Marko Navic. I felt the West Ham one wasn't him. They were saying, say this and get the fans on your side. So he's saying, West Ham, up there, and say, I am back. I'm happy to be back. I actually prefer the honest one, which is, there was a little bit of arrogance in that video, and that's probably why he's gone with this third-party media rather than the club, because the club would have edited bits out, where this one, he's in control, and he can say, actually, I want this bit in, I want that bit in. So I felt like it was the honest Navic, but the problem is, I just think he's misunderstood what everyone's problem is. My other problem is, on Monday, it's the 1st of April, 2 full months now since the transfer window shut, and you're still harping on about it. You know, like Gonzo said, do your talking on the football pitch. And the fact is, you're still going on about it means you've not been doing it on the football pitch. So 2 months later, you feel the only way you can convey a message across, because you're not doing it on the grass with your football boots on, is by doing a video on Instagram and paying someone, I imagine, a decent amount of money and put this together. And the funny thing is, part of the reason you want to go to China in the first place, mate, is because you're not very good at spending your bloody money. And now you're spending money, quite a bit of money, on a media production company to come in and sort it all. I mean, irony or what? Because he flew that media company, he took them over to Vienna with him and stuff. So it wouldn't have been cheap. So his extravagant spending, I think, is the reason he's apparently been in financial bother. Well, he's just doing it again by getting this media team in. So it's all a bit strange, in all honesty. But listen, Everton aside, if you're playing, you're talking on the pitch, I'd much rather see you score. But to be fair to him, he did score for Austria. He scored a couple of goals for Austria against Israel. They still got beat 4-2, but he scored. And the first one was a very Marko Navic goal. He makes a run, and the guy doesn't initially pass to him, so he throws his arms up. And as his arms are half up, the ball lands at his feet, and the guy does pass to him. So he turns and puts it away. So he got his 2 goals. Hernandez scored for Mexico. He got his 51st goal for Mexico. And Pedro Obiang scored for Who does he play for? Papua
I
New
don't know.
Papua
I
New
don't
Guinea
know.
plays for you.
I mean, I don't know. He's a Spaniard who learnt his trade in Italy. So I don't know. He's done more Declan Rice than Declan Rice.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident it's Papua New Guinea.
Right.
I think that's who he plays for anyway now. So yeah, so some players had a good international break. Anderson played for Brazil. He came on as a substitute.
Oh, yeah.
Lanzini didn't play, but that was the plan. Apparently, the plan was for Argentina to call him up, so he was involved with the squad just to say you're still part of the squad, but we're not going to play you because you're just back from injury, etc. Do you know something? That's the right way to go about it.
Yes,
an international team. I was concerned. Do you know when he got called up? I thought, oh, this is way too soon. He's had one game for West Ham when he got called up, but actually they've called him up not to play football, but just to be involved with the squad. Fantastic. That's what. Brilliant from Argentina, so credit for that. There's a lot of transfer rumours. So would you?
Oh yeah, I do love transfer rumours.
Yeah, let's talk about some. Well, we're not going to talk about the first one, which is Dzeko. He's been linked to West Ham again from Roma for about £20 million. We're not going to talk about that. We've done it to death. Maxi Gomez is still the number one target for Pellegrini and Huselos as they're sort of banking on Celta Vigo to get relegated. So his release cost is around £22 million. Only on 35 grand a week, though, in Spain, which is probably one of the reasons we're quite confident we'll be able to get him here, double his wages, and it's still only 70 grand a week, which is reasonably cheap. Do you think we'll get Maxi Gomez?
Yeah, we could probably afford, because I think he's a star of the team. The rest of the team are even lower wages. We could probably afford to bribe the rest of his team to lose the remaining games, so they definitely go down. It's got to be worth it. If he's by us 42, if they stay up, chuck them a couple of million. They go down. It's 22 million. It's quids in. Maybe the board will do that.
I think they're going down anyway, to be honest with you. It doesn't look like they're going to be staying up. So we're certainly banking on going down and being the only club in the running by the looks of it. The weird transfer rumour that came out last week, Real Madrid, apparently, if they can't get Hazard, their next target is Felipe Anderson. What did you make of that transfer rumour?
I just don't see it. I just don't. It's just a lie. It's a lie. Maybe Marco's production company put that one out there as well. It's not true. I can't believe it's true. It's just, what was the logic in that? Eden Hazard. Oh, next one along. Oh, I know. Felipe Anderson. Sorry, I bashed the microphone then. He's not good enough. He's not good. He's, good enough for us. Good, decent, but he's not good enough to play for Real Madrid.
No, I completely agree. When I seen it, I did think, well, some journalist is bored somewhere around, and they're just throwing some names out there. They get Zinedine Zidane back, and the rumours, the press in Spain are saying he's going to have loads of money and he's going to try and get Mbappe over, and he's going to go after Hazard, etc. And then suddenly the English press are linking Felipe Anderson to Real Madrid. There's a big difference in quality and ability of a football player there. Hypothetically, if someone did come in for Felipe Anderson, I put it out on Twitter because I was intrigued. What would your price tag for Anderson be? And there was a wide range. Some people said just get the money back that we paid for him, but then there was other people up at 100 million or so. What would you be pricing?
Well, I'd keep him, but because he's good for West Ham. He's a good player. As I always say, we cannot afford the players that turn up every single game. I think if you were to sell him, you'd try and look for a small profit. What's the point otherwise? You're not going to sell him. Why would we're West Ham fans? We're not going to sell him at a loss. I think if you were to sell him for 55 million, you would consider that to be successful.
I think I'd be a bit cheap, to be honest. I would have expected a bit more. 65 million was my hypothetical price tag for Felipe. Centre back, it seems like we are quite serious about buying another centre back this summer. Now, there is a name that's been put out there, but before we get into that, because I'm going to assume you've not heard of him, what do you make that Huselos and Pellegrini might be making a centre back a reasonable priority?
Yeah, I think that's, and you're right to assume I probably haven't heard of him because I probably haven't heard of him, but I think they've probably looked at it. They've seen Balbuena has been out. I don't think when they signed Balbuena at 4 million, they thought this is going to be the guy. I think Balbuena was a punt, and actually he's turned out better than they expected. So I would imagine they'll probably be looking to bring someone else in. But when Balbuena's gone out, I think they've probably looked at Ogbonna, who, let's be fair, I think in at least two or three of the games where he's played or Buena's been out, one or both or all of us on reviews have given him man of the match or close to it. So he has had two or three very, very good performances, but also he's had more than two or three very bad performances as well. So I think they've probably looked at that and thought that's a little bit patchy for us. So I think maybe Ogbonna, they're looking to get rid of Ogbonna and bring somebody else in. And don't be surprised if whoever they bring in is the starter alongside Diop and Balbuena resumes the role that he was probably earmarked for as a £4 million player, which is the backup centre back, the bench centre back.
Interesting. The centre back we were linked to is Marapan, who plays with Deportivo Alaves over in Spain, which seems to be Husalos's favourite hunting ground, if you like, and understandably so, because that's where he's been and where he's probably got most of his contacts, etc. But to be honest with you, I find it a bit strange that we would be targeting a centre back. I just think there's bigger priorities in the squad. There's positions which prioritise more, and I thought centre back would be quite low because we've got that. Because we've also got Winston Reid back in training now. While Pellegrini's never seen him, it means we've got 4 senior centre backs fit now, and that's too much for West Ham. So that would insinuate at least one of them is leaving. And you could be right about Ogbonna. Maybe there's something already sort of in place or that, or the cogs already turning for getting Ogbonna out. But even then, I just thought, well, I don't. It all goes back to our budget. I think if our budget is genuinely 25 million, I'm not sure we can afford to spend any of that really on upgrading the Ogbonna part of the team. The other areas in the team need to be upgraded first and foremost, unless this guy's fee is very similar to what we're going to receive for Ogbonna. It's going to be a like for like, or maybe even a small profit on it or whatever. I don't know, but we'll wait and see. I've not heard of this centre back either, so we'll keep our eyes on that one. Now, from one player that you've never heard of to another one probably is Jolinton, who plays up front for Hoffenheim. Brazilian striker, can play out wide, but it's rumoured to be about 30 million. Are you taking this one with a pinch of salt?
I just don't know the guy, Geo. We said about being honest earlier. I don't know. I've never actually heard of that guy. I've never heard of Marzipan or whatever his name was either. So, but what can you say? 30 million. We're going to need to sort something out. I would just be very surprised if we get rid of all the strikers that we're rumoured to be getting rid of, and we don't bring at least one more in. I think Hernandez will probably stay, and so he should. He's got one more year of his contract left, and he's good for us. When he feels loved and he feels wanted, he's a good striker. But let's say Arnie goes, let's say Perez goes, and Carroll's obviously going. They need to bring one in, don't they? So I think it is a godsend. I know it was a bit of a controversial comment about the not wanting me thinking Europe was a year too early for us. I stick by that. And I think it'll enable us to have a squad where we don't need 4 strikers. I think where we just go for the league and go for the cups. So I don't think you need to lose 3 and bring 3 in. I think you can, keep Hernandez, bring in one decent striker, and then maybe have Silva as backup or somebody. If it may be a wide player that can also play up front, like whatever his bloody name was there. So but I'll be very surprised. I understand what you're saying at centre back. If Julius and Pellegrini haven't looked at the situation, and if they decide they don't need a central midfielder, I would be very, very surprised. That has been an area of some concern for quite a while.
Well, let's move on to the midfielder there, because one midfielder we're being linked with is Jack Grealish, sort of a veteran rumour on the channel, if you like, Jack Grealish, isn't he? He's sort of an old school Gonzo transfer target.
Oh, I love him. Honestly, I love the way he floats across the pitch. He's got instant ball control. He plays with his head up. He's a glider. He glides across that pitch. He finds space. He's got a football brain. Wonderful. Wonderful. I would love that to happen. I can't see it, but why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? If we can't buy players off of Aston Villa in the Championship, what on earth is going on anyway? What's the point in being the 17th richest club in the world if you can't afford to buy a player from the Championship? That's granted, we can't afford to buy Gareth Bale of Real Madrid, but we should be able to buy Jack Grealish. I would love him at West Ham.
I think we can afford him. The problem is he value for money? And I think that's 2 completely different questions with 2 completely different answers, because I don't think he is value for money. He's it's been rumored. It says up to 30 million. I don't think it would cost that much. So let's take 20 million as a rule of thumb for Jack Grealish. I'm not sure it represents 20 million. However, the Spurs were genuinely deadly serious in buying him. So he's got something about him. He's definitely talented. Okay, I'm just not sure he's consistently good enough week by week on such a big gap in ability between Championship and Premier League to make that jump up and perform every week at a high standard. Also, he sort of plays the role that I don't think we need a player in. We've got Lanzini and Nasri to do the job that Jack Grealish does for Villa. So I just find it a bit of a strange one, to be honest. And also, he wears really small shin pads, or is it just me? He seems to have the smallest shin pads in the world. They must be
lovely floppy hair, Geo. Lovely floppy hair. And you know what? He can take a punch to the back of the head and a kick from a steward as well. So these are all things that need to be taken into consideration.
That happens at West Ham, though. He will get injured.
Because of the hair?
Him. Yeah, if he was wearing a West Ham shirt when that man ran on the pitch, he would be out for about 6 months.
It's true. That's true. And the steward would be knackered by the time he got to him to kick him. He would have to have very long legs, that steward, wouldn't he?
But to be fair, Martin Noble might have stopped that fan. Before that fan got to Jack Grealish, Martin Noble might have just bundled them over, especially if he had a West Ham shirt on. Now, if that guy was a West Ham fan, Martin Noble would have had him into, well, row A of the London Stadium, row Z in any other stadium.
He is going to be one hell of a steward, Mark, when he retires from playing.
Yeah, I think that's his job. It's destiny, isn't it? Martin Noble, London Stadium steward. He sorts out anybody that gets on the pitch. Did you see that? The one guy at the West Ham game in the Huddersfield one, I think he just stepped over the sideboard really to celebrate with the crowd, and the media said, pitch invasion at London Stadium. And I wasn't there, but I was watching. I thought, what? Then there was a picture of a guy just celebrating with the players, and everybody was like replying, like, he literally just celebrated with the players and went back off again. There was no, but it's just, the media described as another pitch invasion. And then they had a picture of the guy, but they also had a picture of Bubbles with a corner flag. It's like, it's not the same. You can't compare the two. Yeah, I just thought it was amusing. I thought, well, this is the media these days, isn't it? Makes you click. Well, it worked for me because I clicked on the bloody thing. Buggers got me. We've also been linked with, not for the first time, Olympiacos' left back, Koutris, I think his name is. We've had scouts watching him. For some reason, we only seem to scout him when he's playing for Greece rather than actually playing for Olympiacos, which I find a bit strange. I think he played Lithuania. Apparently, we had scouts there along with a couple of other clubs. Now, there is a bit of a red herring in here because it says Leicester City. And I'm pretty confident they're going to sign Kieran Tierney. So I don't think they're going after him. I think that's a bit of a red herring team. I quite like curveballs like this. I think left back's someone we need. And I actually hope we sell Masuaku, in all honesty. I do hope that we can sell Masuaku and bring a left back in and not spend any money, like for like transfer fees or whatever. I've never heard of this guy, but he does something under these two. I quite like it.
Yeah. Why not? I mean, Masuaku is a player for a 3-5-2, isn't he? He's a wing back. We're not playing wing backs. Yeah, get him out. If somebody's happy to sit on the bench or battle it out with Cresswell, then I'm all for it. And as you say, you've got to put a trust in them, particularly if it's going to be a £5-6 million player. Good on them.
Disclaimer: I would also rather have Kieran Tierney than as a Greek god, but we don't have the money to go get him at left back. The only other left back that I wouldn't mind seeing at West Ham, I think he'll be in the Premier League next season anyway, is playing for Norwich at the minute. Jamal Lewis, he'll be in the Premier League the season after next. Even if Norwich go down, someone will sign him. I think he's one for your fantasy league next year. If you do fantasy league, keep an eye on him. Very good left back. Jonjo Shelvey, we're not going to discuss him. He's popped up again, but to be honest, I'm bored of discussing him and transfer rumour wise, so we're not going to bother. Pablo Zabaleta, his contract's up at the end of the season, Gonzo. Every time we do a preview, I always say, well, is he going to be here? Is he not? So, what do you think? Is he going to be here?
I don't think he will be. I think because, and we'd looked at the figures, having looked at the figures, if we are getting 25 million, I think we can turn that into at least 60 million. And that's conservative. I think you could possibly get 70 million. And that's value in the players really low. It's value in people like Obiang, at 7 million and things like that. But you have to think we've got a restricted and quite tight transfer budget. What it does do, just by letting people go and by selling people, it actually frees up almost 500 grand a week. Now, obviously, Zabaleta is going to be a big part of that. He's a big earner. And I think if what they're going to be able to do is offer players big wages, get some people on frees, get some loans, I think that's how we're going to do the squad. And I think that may well be something that's appealing to Pellegrini, to free up that much money. If he can entice somebody really good over with, the combined wages of Andy Carroll and Perez, Zabaleta, all these high earners are all earning more than 70 grand a week. I just think it might be the way we're going to do business. So that's for that reason I can see him going.
Yeah, I'm stuck on this one. I didn't think we were going to, but there's a lot of sort of talk that he has been offered a new deal and he loves it at West Ham, etc. I'm sort of stuck if I want to see. Do you want to see him here?
Yeah, I'd quite like to. I've got to say, I think he adds an awful lot. We've discussed this for a few weeks now. The characters in the dressing room. You went on and made the example about Burnley signing Peter Crouch. Characters in your workplace, people that are fun to be around, people that are leaders. It's very, very important. So I for that reason, I'd quite like him around. He also gets West Ham. He's only been here 5 minutes. He understands West Ham, I guess, because he's come from Man City and he's seen that club grow. So, yeah, I'd like to keep him.
He's going through his dodgy bit of form at the wrong time for me. I think he's been a bit iffy the last few games, but he's been fantastic over the last year and a half, so you can't really doubt it. But it's the wrong time to hit a bad bit of form for Pablo Zabaleta if the club are trying to decide if to give him a new deal or not, etc. And one reason I think we might not give him a new deal is because we've been linked with Rafael from Lyon, the right back, the old Man United right back, when we did this a couple of months ago. Maybe I said to you, I wouldn't mind him. He's still, his contract's still running out at Lyon. So I do wonder if maybe we're trying to explore that avenue, because obviously with his contract running out and them being a foreign club, we're perfectly within a right to now go negotiate with him right now and get him signed up for coming in the summer. So I wouldn't be surprised if we are exploring that. I just hope it's not Antonio Valencia. I do think that would be a sideways step. He's leaving Man United. We've been linked to him, and I would just rather have Zabaleta. If the option is Valencia, Zabaleta, I stick with Zabaleta because we know what we're getting rather than twist. But if we could get someone in younger like Rafael, I'd rather twist actually. But it's Zabaleta. He's been reliable as hell. We're going to move on to the questions in a minute. So if you're watching on YouTube Live, feel free to jot them down. I'll scribble them down. A couple of other bits of news that we're not going to go into too much. West Ham women FA Cup semi-final is against Reading, which is in 3 weeks. So they're 90 minutes, potentially 90 minutes away from Wembley in the FA Cup final. So that would be huge for them. And then the claret carpet was meant to be installed this week for the Everton game, but it's not. It's delayed. There's been that claret carpet has had more installation dates than Specky Brunette has for West Ham fans. Are you ready for your social media? Are you ready for your social media questions?
Yes.
Right, we'll start with Twitter. Before we do, a fun stat came out this evening. Javier Hernandez scores a goal, 0.54 goals every 90 minutes, and it's actually the best ratio of all players outside the top six in the league. So take a striker outside the top six. Hernandez has a better goals per 90 minutes ratio than him. So including Raul Jimenez, Richarlison, Sigurdsson, Wilson, Barnes, Rondon, etc., etc., etc. And that leads us on to our first question, which is from Jamie at Jimbo Norwood on Twitter. It says, who would you rather keep next season, Hanavic or Hernandez?
Hernandez.
Yeah, me too. It's as simple as that for that one. And that's Hernandez for me. Mark Speller at supersonic_Mark. I've got a feeling that's named after the Oasis song. I think his handle is after, he likes Oasis, Mark. So I think that Supersonic comes from there. Looking at our remaining games, how many points do you think we will / can get, and where would that put us in the league?
I think we could get 6. I think we could possibly get 6 or 7 more points, quite possibly. Maybe 4. 6. Yeah, I don't know. 5, 6, something like that. So what are we on? What are we on now?
I don't know.
We're on 40. We're on 40, aren't we? I don't know. I don't know either. Funny, isn't it? We're not going to get 50 points. So if that answers anybody's question.
I don't know. We've got some really tough games, actually, don't we? They're really tough. Everton, Leicester, and Southampton at home. Southampton's a must-win, surely. So I'll go. I'll say 7 points. I'll say 7 points. But the away ones are quite write-offable, really. Alex at Joel Alexi 29. Would you agree that while Hernandez is a great finisher, he seems to be most effective coming off the bench? I believe there's a similar situation at Man United. The problem is, how do you keep a player happy playing him off the bench?
I think it's easy for us to say that he's better off the bench because we've never really given him a sustained run in the first team and played to his strengths. And I don't think he is just that, although the stats do suggest he's a very, very good substitute. I'd give him a run of games between now and the end of the season. I really would. It's 42 points West Ham have got, by the way. I just looked. But I understand it. But he starts so many games and historically has for Mexico. And also, I think at Leverkusen he was starting and scoring. I don't ever feel he's had a run of games and the full trust of a manager at any point. So I think that's why he's looked like he's almost had to score his goals from substitutes.
Do you know something? This is a challenge for not just our manager, any manager. You've got a player that's good coming off the bench and scoring goals. Well, find a way of making him good at scoring goals from the start. If you can score a goal in the 70th minute, surely you can score a goal in the 20th minute. It's the same thing. Kicking the ball in the net, it's the same. If you strip back all the fancy bits and take it down to the basics, which is put the ball in the back of the net, it's the same thing. It doesn't matter when you come on, it's the same thing. So it's Pellegrini's challenge to get Hernandez scoring when he starts games. And if you can crack that, there's your 20 goal a season striker right there. It doesn't cost you an absolute penny. You keep your striker happy. But the thing is, you have to keep him happy, and he is scoring goals, so you need to reward him. I'm not a big believer in this super sub thing. The only thing that makes me sort of believe in the super sub thing, and someone once told me years ago, but I was a little kid playing football, so I wanted a game of football. So the ones that can stand there on the sideline and watch a game of football and notice who's a bit crap in the other team or what they're not very. If you've got a striker going on, they will watch the centre backs and realise, okay, that guy's not good in the air, that guy's weak, or that guy's left-footed, for example. So when they go on the pitch, they've got about 70 minutes of research, if you like, up there, and they know what they're going on to do, and that's why they make super sub. Perhaps Javier Hernandez is just one of those players. I don't know, but with all the data that football clubs have these days in the Premier League, that's no excuse because you can study however many games you want prior to it. So yeah, it's up to Pellegrini to sort it out, really. Adam Smith at Adam27996. Hypothetical question: if West Ham are the same standard club as we are in 3 years' time, i.e., top half, would you be disappointed if Rice was still here? Now, I asked him for context in this. I said, would you be disappointed in Rice, as in he hasn't progressed enough, or would you be disappointed in West Ham? And he said, in Declan Rice. So I think his question really is, in 3 years, if Declan Rice is still here, has Declan Rice sort of halted in terms of progress?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. It's very, very hard for Premier League clubs to buy players off other Premier League clubs. I know he's a slightly different player, but Barcelona have signed a guy called De Jong from Ajax, who looks like he can do everything in midfield. And the guy is significant. I know he's not just a holding midfielder, but he's 1 or 2, 3 levels above Declan Rice. The top midfielders in the world are exceptional. So you've got to look at what these clubs are going to be looking for. As it stands, I don't think Man City are ready to sign Declan Rice now. It may well be that in a couple of seasons they've got a transfer embargo anyway and can't sign anyone. Chelsea are going to be banned from signing players. So already 2 of the possible likely destinations and let's be fair, Chelsea have got Kante anyway. Two of the likely destinations may well be no go. If what we're doing is we're pricing Declan Rice at 80 million, 100 million, those sort of figures that you hear, nobody is going to be able to afford him. Barcelona and Real Madrid won't come and get him because there will always be somebody from Ajax or from Benfica or somebody like that who they'll go and buy for 50 odd million, and probably who's technically better. They don't. Teams, the very, very top teams, are attacking all the time. They don't necessarily need somebody that as totally defensively minded as Declan Rice. My point being that I don't think it'd be necessarily that. It's not a failure if he's still at West Ham. It's just hardly anybody can afford to buy him, and it's just not the marketplace for an £80 million guy that sits in front of the defence.
Yeah, I get what Adam's saying there. Actually, I think part of me would. His question sort of trying to make you remove your West Ham fan glasses from this, and he's sort of trying to. I think he's trying to say to you, if you were a neutral, an England fan, perhaps, would you be disappointed if Rice was still at West Ham? And I can see what he's trying to say. I think the Man City transfer embargo is bad news for West Ham because it's a year embargo apparently, and if City appeal it, etc., and it gets moved back to January 2020 and summer transfer window 20, it means City have got one summer transfer window where they can buy in players, and then they've got to keep what they've got for 2 transfer windows time. So if that happens, come the summer, they might be trying to pick up 2 or 3 really good players, and if you've got to buy players, you're going to want them young enough so that in a year's time they're still good, etc. Rice is going to be surely going to be one of those players that they're looking at because Fernandinho needs replaced next season, the end of next season, and if that gets pushed forward to this summer, it's going. I would worry. I would generally worry if Man City gets this summer and then that's it for a year. I'm not fussed about Chelsea. Man City are the only club that worries me about Declan Rice, if you like, in all honesty. I don't know why. I've just got a feeling that that's where he's going to end up. And he will end up there one day and he will win trophies one day. It will be a West Ham. But the challenge always is, like Pellegrini with Hernandez, the challenge is now on the board, Pellegrini and Husslos, to build a team and get us into, or try and get us competing with getting into 6th in that, so that Rice might fancy staying here a bit longer. But I would be surprised. He's an ambitious lad. He is an ambitious lad, and he's shown by picking England over Ireland, he's showing that he will do what's best for his footballing career. And what is best for his footballing career is he goes somewhere we can win the Premier League title, etc. That's not with us, unfortunately. John Raby 110. Are West Ham a feeder club, or are they going to fight to keep the best players and add more quality? And I think he's referring to the likes of Declan Rice and Felipe Anderson.
Well, we're not a feeder club at the moment, are we? Let's be fair, we're not. Was it Payet? That's the one player would have liked to have kept that got away. I think there's circumstances there. He certainly forced that issue. I don't think we're a feeder club. I think you have that conversation if we were to sell Declan Rice and Felipe Anderson because Man City and Real Madrid came in, then yes, we would then be a feeder club for those. But that hasn't happened.
Yeah, I completely agree. Feeder club. Now, Payet was a completely unique situation. And the funny thing is we barred the club for, to be fair, I think they handled it not too bad, but then they did the opposite with Anatovich and got barred for that. So they can't really win in a sense. But no, I'm not fussed. Those players are still West Ham players at the minute. If they were both to be sold in the summer, then you can ask that question again and might have a different answer. Keith has asked what 3 signings we would make. Now, to be honest with you, I don't know which players are out of contact. And I know Gonzo won't either, so we'll have to look into that. And then the next cup of tea will answer that question about the 3 agents. Avit Ammer says West Ham women 1 game away from a Wembley final. Thoughts on the Matthew Beard process, if any?
The what?
Matthew Beard. He's the manager.
Oh right, I wouldn't know. But my daughters went to the my last one against Reading, and they'll want to go to this one. In fact, my middle daughter, she's very good footballer. She wants to play for West Ham ladies, so she's very, very into it. Sorry,
women.
Like, hold on a second. Chelsea ladies.
Yeah, they're all different.
Well, why did they rebrand?
I don't know. I was a bit confused by this as well. And the article when they did when it went from West Ham ladies to West Ham women, there was an article and I read it. To be honest, I'm still none the bloody wiser. What it was all about. It was waffle about. I don't know. I think I was trying to say this is what you call ladies nowadays. You call them women. But there's other.
I once got told off for calling somebody a woman, and she said I'm a lady. She said woman's a bit of a vulgar description. You know what, mate? I guess you can't win anyway. But okay, so they're West Ham women. Yes. I will tell her that. But at the moment, she wants to play for West Ham ladies. I'll tell her that you can't anymore. They're gone. They're gone. Sort your speech out, love. I'll tell her. You want to mind you? I'll tell you what. Should be in trouble now. Oh, lovely. Speaking of which, thank you very much. Yeah.
That's perfect. And for those listening on iTunes or Google, Gonzo just got a cup of tea delivered to him.
That was my wife. That wasn't my daughter that delivered me a cup of tea. That was my wife, who's a very nice lady woman. But she used to be a man.
Woody at Hammers Fans Insurance Number says, what West Ham players can we expect to see in the England senior squad in the next few years?
Alan, we're going to see Ben Johnson, of course. We are going to see. We're going to see Nathan Hollands. We really are. He needs a run of games, and he's been unlucky with fitness. He's been unlucky with injury. I wouldn't mind seeing Nathan get out and do a short-term loan quickly, first 3 months somewhere, get a wind beneath his sails, as it were. But I'm pretty sure he's going to come through as well. I still think Pask is a very good player. Whether or not he comes through is hard for centre-backs to come through. I certainly think Nathan Trott is really good. Seen him a few times. Bloody good keeper.
The good thing for Trott is he's been involved with England throughout a younger age. He's always been in the England youth teams, etc. So they'll know about him. I wouldn't be surprised if Southgate's heard his name at the very least and stuff, and he'll be speaking to his under 21s, etc., etc. So Trott's sort of got a passageway there, but I find keepers are hard to dislodge a little bit because there's only 3 in the squad, and when they're in there, they have to be playing really badly to get knocked out by someone else a little bit. And the England keepers of current, none of them are old. Pickford, Butland, they've all got time on their side. Even Heaton, although he's in his 30s, etc. Then you've got Pope as well. So they've all got a few years in them at least. So Trott will probably have to be 27 maybe before he starts knocking on the England door, unless he's exceptionally good. Prior to that, so England keepers have to wait until they're mid-20s at least until they get in. So he's got a long wait on his hands. The only other player I'd add to what you've just said is Dan Kemp, because he has been called up for the England younger sides as well, and he's sort of a name that goes unmentioned, I suppose, when we're talking about. There's not much hype around him, and I suppose the club have to take a little bit of not criticism, but the club are the ones that decide which youngsters' names get thrown about there by the media, and he's someone that's been kept down. But that's not a bad thing, because they did the same with Declan Rice, really. It was all about Reece Oxford a little bit, and Rice just went about his business, and boom, just arrived, and some people said, hang about. And Ben Johnson was a bit like that. When he started against Man City, there was a lot of West Ham fans saying, who is Ben Johnson? Who's that guy? Never heard of him, and he's in the first team. So maybe it's a good thing they're doing the same with Dan Kemp. But in all honesty, to answer the guy's questions, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if none of them don't make it. It's just difficult. It's very, very difficult. Andy Phipps is trying to piss me off, I think. Andy J. Phipps says, what do I think of Alex McLeish? Honestly,
I think Andy's an actor,
He's honestly, he is a cheap version of David Moyes. That's how bad he is. He's awful.
What, Andy? Andy is?
Well, I don't know if Andy is, but Alex McLeish certainly is. Needs to be gone now. Resign. Piss off. I'd rather have David Moyes. That's how bad it is. Last one for Twitter. No, it's not. London Hammer at LDN Hammer says, during your lifetime, which West Ham player were you most proud of or happy to see to get an international call up?
I think it's hard. It may well have been Joe Cole. Actually, Joe Cole got invited into the squad really young. Actually, got invited to train with a squad at a ridiculous young age. But I just thought Joe Cole was going to be the best player in the world when I saw him. And Joe Cole will look back and think he's had a good career, and I think he does. But Mourinho killed the magic in that boy. That one time when Joe Cole scored with a back heel and whatever Mourinho hauled him off, or I don't know whether he was leaving the pitch or he substituted him and he had a go at him publicly. He was doing Mourinho was miming the back heel as he took Joe Cole off and having a go at him, just wanted him to sort of tap it in. So I was very, very proud. I thought Joe Cole was going to be the first £100 million player, actually.
Yeah, I knew you liked Joe Cole because I played you in FIFA once. You sort of created your West Ham All Stars because I beat you a couple of times. And
I don't know about that.
when you turned up for the third game, suddenly we were both playing as West Ham, but your West Ham team was very different to mine because mine was the default team of FIFA. And you had Bobby Moore centre back, Jeff Hurst up front.
You got to do what you got to do.
Then you had, not only did you have Joe Cole playing left midfield with 99 pace probably, he was also left-footed. So you edited Joe Cole. You actually changed Joe Cole as a footballer in order to see your game of FIFA.
Listen. He was a two-footed a genius, Joe Cole, and I'm quite sure. Unfortunately, I would have had to have shoehorned him on the left. But you know what, mate? If you've got people like Trevor Brooking in your team and Billy Bonds, then it's hard to find a place centrally for Joe. And what a team that was, Gio.
Yeah, it was. You came out with the classics West Ham, which you decided to make up on edit mode. And the best thing is, it finished a draw that game. I remember that game finished a draw. So you still didn't win even with your left-footed draw.
I'll tell you what, I remember some thuggish tactics from you. I was playing a beautiful game. You went all Big Sam on me, hacking me down, fouling me. And then just as I was about to win, it said a connection lost. So I think you probably,
Just
I said, hello, Gio. You there, Gio?
This was in FIFA 19, so I didn't have Felipe Anderson in my team. This was in between Payet and Anderson. So I had Lanzini. That was my only creativity. Like that Snodgrass running about, and you had Joe Cole running down the left wing.
You were launching it long to Big Andy anyway. You don't need a midfield the way you were playing, son.
But anyway, moving back to his question, I actually think Declan Rice is for me a little bit because I guess it's because you follow the person's career and when they make a breakthrough, so on. So when Joe Cole made his breakthrough at West Ham, I was still a kid myself, so I didn't fully understand sort of football and international call-ups and that. To me, football was having a game of Pro Evolution. I was not FIFA back then. I was a Pro Evolution boy. So I was playing Pro Evolution with, I don't know what his name would have been, Joe Dole on left wing or something, and Carlton Goal up front. Playing as East Ham United. That was Pro Evolution. So I was playing Pro Evolution. So I didn't understand the full concept. So as you get older, you understand a bit more. So Declan Rice is sort of someone you've seen come through, and I don't know. It's hard not to love Declan Rice as a West Ham fan. He's just. There's a story here. I put this out on Twitter. You would have seen this, but for the viewers. 2 years ago, when West Ham played in Germany in pre-season, 2017, West Ham played their pre-season in Germany, and we did our reviews after the game. It was just friendlies, but we did a review anyway. So we did it, and Declan also featured us, as did some other youngsters, and Declan had only played about 2 minutes for West Ham at this point. And we did a review, and we praised the players that we thought would be deserved to be praised, and Declan was one of those. And he messaged us after the game. He messaged us to say thank you for your kind words on the review and stuff. And there's been another couple of times. It happened throughout the summer. There was another couple of youngsters as well, but we'll tell you who they were when they make their first Premier League appearance for West Ham. But Declan messaged us. He was really nice, and he's such a down-to-earth, humble guy, and he still is. Despite everything, he still is. If you follow us on Twitter, you'll know that Hammers Chat can be a bit. Someone called it insensitive, so let's just go along with insensitive. Declan still follows us on Hammers Chat, for example, and so it's quite a nice story. I thought I would just put that story out there. And if you're watching this, hi Dex.
Oh, that's pathetic. Oh, mate, I want to vomit.
Up the alley. At Ironsboy 1966 says, assuming he can stay fit, where does Winston Reid fit into the squad when he comes back? First 11 backup, or do we need to sell him?
Well, it's easy to almost forget about Winston Reid, but for a long time he was our best defender. And let's not forget he plays as a left centre back, and they are two separate positions. How many times have you seen a player playing either left or right and out of position? Each one is an art and its own separate position. So I think that will stand him in good stead. That being said, I don't think he can come and walk back into the first team. He'd have to have a hell of a pre-season for that to happen. So I can't see it happening. So I think if he does stay, it will be his backup.
Yeah, it depends how well he's recovered, because his career was potentially, the rumours were it was potentially career ending. That was it. We wouldn't play football again. There's possibly still a chance of that. The Dean Ashton's a perfect example. He came back. We thought he'd come back, and he just completely broke down, and that was it. He had to retire. That could happen with Winston Reid. It could still happen with Lanzini, but Winston Reid's injury was apparently so bad. And when we did that thing with Gary Lewin, he didn't want to say that, but he got the impression that Gary Lewin was trying to hint that he got injured, and then when he was injured, he got injured again. And that can't be bad. That cannot be good, because if you're injured and you're keep taking it easy and your injury gets worse, you could only really do that by walking or something. So that is real bad. It's good to see him back, and on his day, he's one of the best centre backs I've seen at West Ham in my lifetime, and hopefully we get that Winston Reid back. And if we do, we've got a top centre back on our hands there. The problem is he's on a decent contract. I don't know how long it's got left to run off the top of my head, but it was a 6-year one he signed 2 or 3 years ago now, so he's probably got about 3 years left to go. It's going to be difficult to get someone to take that contract on and say, well, here's a guy who's been out for a year, and Winston Reid's always going to say, I'm on 60 grand a week, 3-year deal. I'd have the same at your club, please. You'll be hard pressed to find a club to commit to that one. So I don't think it'll be easy to get rid of him. We just have to hope we can patch him up and he's able to play a squad role. We don't build our defence around him anymore, but he sort of does the James Collins that we've seen the last 2 years of James Collins. He came in when he needed to, stayed in, but whenever we could, we put someone back in place of him. And we'll quickly move on to some of the YouTube questions to speed time up a little bit. Dun, dun, dun. Do you know something? There's a few different ones, so we're going to go for a different one. It's Ben Davies. In light of the racist chants at the Montenegro game, do you think more should be done by the football authorities to combat racism?
Look, I mean, firstly, let's just get something right, Ben. I mean, I'm mindful of two white guys sat here talking about what constitutes racism and what doesn't. But I think it's so easy to speak in terms, general terms. Everybody does. It's sort of like when someone dies and somebody says, oh, our thoughts are with their family. It's an easy thing to say. Actually, you've got to take the time to actually think about it. So I think people say they condone racism, and it's just an easy thing to say. And so you hear this stuff trotted out. So the one against the Moldovan game was a nasty minority. No, it wasn't. It really wasn't a minority. If you're going to deal with racism, you've got to speak plainly. And there was hundreds of people doing monkey chants, and that's what was going on. Hundreds of them, not one or two, hundreds of them. And it always happens in those areas. And again, you find yourself when you're talking about it, trying to be politically correct. I think, even in my mind then, I'm thinking, I want to say Eastern Europe, but is that right? And again, so you're checking yourself. But I tell you what, political correctness gets nothing done because it stops people talking frankly. And people need to speak frankly about this. The thing that's trotted out, we need to educate that minority. There's no educating. This is what they think. They're racist. They are, and there's loads of them. You ain't going to educate them. You ain't going to get them with a slap on the wrist. And I tell you what, people are talking about, because the fines are not very big, Geo. They don't get very big fines. UEFA are soft. The insinuation is you would have to suspect that UEFA is a racist organisation. Does everybody in the organisation racist? No. But if they took it seriously, there'd be bigger penalties. But I tell you this now, even if they stopped the fining, and even if they made it the stadium closures or did stuff like that, You ain't going to change it because that is prevalent within that culture and within that community. Unfortunately, and what is racism? I'll tell you what it is, because I'm looking at it. You've actually, forget whether it's racist or whether it's not. If you see something is hurtful to someone and something upsets someone and you carry on doing it, actually you're a nasty bastard, whether you're racist or whether you're not. It could be about colour of your skin. You could be saying something nasty in a football stadium about someone's mum or something like that. If you see it's getting to someone and it's making them feel shit, actually there's something within your human nature that should be making you think, actually, that's shit of me to do that. I shouldn't do that. I think they don't give a shit, Geo, quite frankly. And I think you ain't going to stamp it out because you ain't going to stamp out a culture that is clearly there.
That's the thing. I think it is a culture. I'm not sure what we deem is wrong doesn't necessarily mean that they deem it as wrong. And there was an example of it years ago, wasn't there, when the Luis Suarez and Patrice Evra thing came about, and Luis Suarez used a different the N word, but not that N word. There was a slight change in it, and there was a few players came out, like Diego Poyet was one of them that came out and said, "Hang on, in Uruguay we use that word as like a hello, if you like." So there is a culture problem. However, it's disgusting, to be honest with you. And I thought Callum Hudson-Odoi in particular handled the interview afterwards fantastically well. I thought Raheem Sterling was brilliant in terms of his celebration, what he did to sort of say, do what you want, I'm still going to score against you, etc. But the thing is, like you said, the fines they get is worthless. It'll be about 25 grand or something. It needs to be severe punishments behind closed doors, etc. And the mad thing is, if you were to throw a missile onto the pitch, it might lead to you playing behind closed doors. But yet hundreds of your fans making racist chants towards players is worthy of a fine. To put into context, seen on social media earlier, to put into context, Nicholas Bentner, remember when he scored for Denmark, he pulled down his shorts and he had Paddy Power boxers on?
Yeah.
100,000 he got fined by FIFA because they said that is not one of our sponsors. £100,000. He got fined basically 4 times a racist chant, not just racist chant, continuous racist noises throughout a game. He got fined 4 times. I think that just summons FIFA up a little bit and says, hang on a minute, whoa, you can't upset our sponsors. Racism, well, here's a slap on the wrist, here's a slap, we've dealt with it now. But upset our sponsors, that's a big problem. We need to do something here. And the thing is, it's about education, I guess. It's about education. And do they know it's wrong? I don't know. I've never spoke to anybody in my life from Montenegro. I really do not know. But it's unacceptable because it's a way of the world, isn't it? The world is changing, and not all countries are changing. That's the problem, because sometimes you'll go to another country and that country will be behind, if you like, in terms of your society. That country will have a different culture, have a different society. So things need to adapt and change. In terms of FIFA, the punishment won't be enough, because what punishment would be enough? Even if they said, right, Montenegro, you're playing behind closed doors for a game, is that enough? I don't know. Some people will say yes, some people will still say no. But like Gonzo said, it's a difficult question to answer, because we are, at the end of the day, 2 white people. And I thought Southgate answered it well. I can't quote it directly because I've seen it earlier. Southgate said something along the lines of, I am a white man, so it's not easy for me to say, I just want my players to enjoy football, and if I've not done enough to allow them to enjoy football, I'm sorry, I'm not done enough. And I thought he handled it well as well. It's a very awkward situation, and to be honest, it's a difficult question. I could have avoided that one, but
No, yeah, you could have done so. Well done. And I don't mind speaking about it, because
I'm comfortable asking you, and I know that you would be comfortable with me bringing it up. And if you didn't want to speak about it, you could have said, I'd rather not talk about that. Thank you. Can we move on to the next one? But we've always spoke about everything on this channel West Ham related. I thought it was quite an interesting question, but it was a different question. Anyway, back to West Ham. The last one before we go to the live chat questions is from Metalcore 95. On the back of some poor performances by Felipe Anderson, should he be dropped, and should Pellegrini be altering his tactics to suit the players available, i.e. playing Chicharito with a strike partner?
Well, 2 questions there. Well, we had a bit earlier on in the season with 2. I'm not sure who you play up there with Chicharito now. I think it was an option when we didn't have Lanzini. I think that was the time to put Anderson in the middle. Now we've got Lanzini back. Anderson can stay on the left. Should he drop him? I don't think so. I think he can manage him from where he is. I think he's already shown that if he's not playing well, it'll take him off. I think if he does, as I said, I would like to see Nathan brought in there because I do think he's the player most like him in that sense. But I don't think you drop him, not because he's untouchable, but because I still think there's more to come from Felipe Anderson this season. He's had some poor games. Hernandez, I don't think you do give him a partner now, because if you give him a partner, it's either going to be Perez, it's either going to be Andy Carroll, or it's going to be an Arnautovic. Do you know what? I'd rather not. I'd rather see Lanzini and Nasri in there and play a bit of that.
I get what you're saying about the Felipe Anderson thing. I thought he should have been dropped for the Cardiff game, in all honesty. And there was someone on the Hammers Track forum actually made a really good point. Oh, I can't remember who it was. And he basically said his closest analogy he'd get to was golf, because we'd won the game before it. I can't remember who we beat the week before. Was it Newcastle? We beat the week before Cardiff. Yeah, it was. It was Newcastle we beat before Cardiff. And he basically said, right, we beat Newcastle, that's fine. But Pellegrini stuck with the same 11. And he said the nearest analogy he can get to is golf. Like, if me and you went to play golf and went around a course and I beat you, and then we went to a different course next week, I wouldn't use the same golf clubs, etc. I would change my golf clubs to suit the course, etc. So he was trying to say Pellegrini doesn't do that enough. He didn't change his players to suit the opponents. And I thought he was right. And I thought that Felipe Anderson, does he deserve to be dropped? I wouldn't call it dropped. Maybe rested is probably a better word of putting it. But he's now got a problem, because we'll discuss this in the preview tomorrow, because I would like to see Nasri and Lanzini in the same starting 11. And I don't know if you can have Nasri, Anderson, and Lanzini in there. So someone's going to have to miss out. And I sort of maybe just alluded to who I think needs to miss out for Saturday. But we'll talk about that in the preview a bit more. Right, moving on to the live chat. Keep your questions coming. I've got some down. We'll go through a few and then we'll start wrapping this up. Very simple and easy question from Flight. Should we have sold Marko Arnautovic?
Yes.
Yes. And Scotty D, if you could sell one West Ham player in the summer, who would you sell and who would you replace him with?
Now to me. I quite like the old. I don't know about Maxi Gomez. I don't know. The other foreign player I've seen is Haller. Pardon?
Danny Ings.
No, not Danny Ings. Not
put the name out there.
Of course you are. For once. Okay, I've said. Okay. So I'm going to do two, because I don't normally. I spend a lot of time on this show saying don't know about this player, don't know about this player. So I'm going to give you two. I quite like the Mitrovic link. If a foreign player that I've Mitrovic, a player that's not known to this league is Sebastian Haller. Like him in midfield, I'd like to see Obiang sold, and the player I'd like to see brought in is Morgan Sanson. There you go.
You may have to expand on that last one for viewers that may not know who he is.
Sorry, Morgan Sanson.
Very good, very good. Would you like to tell us more about that player?
Yes, he plays for Marseille. He's French, and he's very, very good. Seems to have a bit of everything. Can pass, can shoot, tackle. Not lightning quick, but quick enough. Decent player, really decent player. Really, I was looking at him and I was expecting to see Payet primarily, Thoban as well, and you know, you watch a club expecting to see other players, and this boy really stood out. Very, very good.
Mitrovic is a decent shout actually. I should have discussed that, because it started being linked to him, especially if Fulham go down. It split a lot of people on Twitter. A lot of people were some people were saying, yeah, definitely he's done really well for Fulham. A lot of people have said, well, he doesn't really fit how we play, and they're not too convinced by him. I like him. I think he's a good player in there. I actually was hoping we'd maybe go after Rondon, since he's only on loan at Newcastle, but by the sounds of it, Newcastle have got that tied up a bit like Raul Jimenez at Wolves. Although he's only on loan, it sounds like they've got that deal tied up for 33 million. It's quite cheap, actually, I think, for Jimenez. I think it's quite a cheap deal. Liverpool were being linked to him. I think Wolves basically said, good luck, but we've got this pretty much sorted. But like what we had with Lanzini, back in the Upton Park season when he was here on loan, we had to agree he agreed, and there's a lot of talk other clubs were looking as well. So I think that's happening with Rondon and Raul Jimenez. I would sell Obi pure because I think a centre midfielder is priority. I've actually been put off by Billing a little bit. I really wanted Billing, but a lot of Huddersfield fans have been saying he's just not that good. He's not as good as he looks and stuff. And when it's on TV, he turns up for that match. But when it's not on TV, he looks a bit crap again. And a lot of people were sort of half blaming him for them getting beat against us. A lot of people were saying, you know, they were looking good. Billing comes on the pitch and all of a sudden, bang, it's 4-3. Now, I don't think it's directly his fault, but it's interesting to hear someone that, well, a group of people that watch him week in, week out say he's just not that good. And it does put you off a little bit. And all this stuff. I don't know who I'd like to see come in and centre midfield. If it's a blank check, it would be Ndidi, but it's not blank check, is it? But I'll tell you someone that's intriguing me a little bit is James Ward-Prowse. He's got back into the Southampton team now after Hughes, for whatever reason, put him out. And that boy's been in some form, got his England call up as well. He's been scoring a few goals as well. He's someone I wouldn't mind seeing us go for. Get him inside Declan Rice. And that, actually, yeah, James Ward-Prowse. And that's who I would like to see come in. Jamie says, thoughts on potentially replacing Umbra with Nike?
Yeah, fine, whatever. Don't care. I like Adidas kits, I've got to say. I like Adidas kits. That's my last favourite kit was that Adidas one. I've got it sometimes. I'm a bit big for it. Put on a couple of pounds. Looks like it's Lycra now when I wear it. It's not. I'm just fat. And so I'd like to see that. Nike.
Better than that knockoff when you bought at the start of the season.
Oh, crikey. You want to see the state of the thing. Honestly.
Spring vest now or something.
It's all cracked. It going to tumble. The tumble dryer more or less melted it. Oh, but even before it had the tumble dryer treatment. Oh, it was. Do you know what? It looked great once. Somebody else was wearing it then, of course. But and then it just deteriorated over time. I don't care about the kit. To be fair, I've not been overly impressed with what we've seen. Give someone else a chance. Why not? But I've given a choice. I'd like to see King Apparel make the West Ham kit.
Wow, you've done well there. I'll give you that one. You've really pulled that one out of the bag. I'll tell you, Tim will be very, very happy with you for that name drop. You're going to get another free T-shirt.
Hey, I'll tell you what. You know where to send it, son.
Incredible, well played. I don't mind. Do you know something? I don't mind Umbra, to be honest with you. I don't mind them. The only thing that really grates me, as much as I don't mind what kits look like, it's just the fact that they make a template and just make every kit of that template. I think surely you've only got one job. Like, your job is to design the kit for West Ham, and you've got a job to design the kit for Everton. Why would you make them both the same? Like, is there literally just one guy that designs a kit and then they go, right, everyone, West Ham guy, here's a template, make it West Ham colours. Everton guy, well, yours is just going to be blue, isn't it? I suppose it's all
the old Norwich kit's coming out. Don't you worry, I've got something special for you lined up. Yeah,
yeah. It's just very. I just find it very boring. I find it so strange that a big kit manufacturer doesn't make bespoke kits for, especially Premier League clubs. I can understand if it was a League 2 club, they would say, sorry, here's our default template, we can do you this. I get that. But for a Premier League club, in a deal worth millions, and when you're trying to sell shirts in a club, surely a bespoke kit would sell more shirts in a club. If you took that home shirt and added a faded crossed irons on the side or something, that would sell like that more. It would sell more, just the crossed irons or something. So why they don't do it, I don't know.
There's always, just before you do, there's always somebody at kit time. People make concept kits. They're always better. These people do it.
There's like the guy on Twitter. There's that Richard guy on Twitter. His name isn't Twitter. Richard. Angelica.
Oh, Angelica Custard. Yeah. No, he's excellent. Yeah.
And, he's always designed them. West Ham Photos as well is really good at designing kit content. But the funny thing is, with this OSB, apparently this year they're going to have a subgroup to design or sort of have some sort of input into the design of the kit with Umbra. I imagine they're going to get a template from Umbra and say, "What colours do you want it?" Well,
I'll tell you what shade of claret are we going for
I
here?
guess we'll have the body claret. What about
Yeah.
the sleeves? Well, it's blue claret or white, isn't it? It's not going to be white.
Absolutely, yeah, lovely.
You want blue sleeves or claret sleeves?
Absolutely, yeah. It's gonna be a cracker.
Well done. So yeah, I actually don't mind Umbro. I think they're quite do some giveaways and stuff on Twitter, which is good for fans, etc. And I just think I think maybe Nike's too big, but there is still one more year with Umbro yet, just so people don't get thinking it's Nike next year. There's rumors that that's happening. It's not. We've still got Umbro for another year. Mark says thoughts on China. We spoke about the potential of it. It's been confirmed. West Ham have confirmed that we are heading to China in the summer to play in the Premier League trophy alongside Newcastle, Manchester City, and Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Thoughts on China?
They're going to China for the pre-season.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you, because I was going to talk about rice and Mandarin and Cantonese language, but it might work. It might not. I think we're going to be running two teams. I think we're running a shadow team. We're playing some English friendlies, and I think we'll have a lot of the squad out in China. I think there'll still be games for people to go to in this country, which is the thing. I quite like a couple of pre-season games, actually. Obviously, China's out of the question for obvious reasons. But I understand why they're doing it. If they're doing it for money and they can make the £25 million transfer kitty, get it up to 26 million, then that would be probably well worth knackering the players out for, isn't it? So giving them all jet lag before the start of the season, go over to China, get thrashed by Man City. What's not to like?
And don't buy any shirts when you're out there. They're not very good. And
don't stick them in a tumble dryer, certainly.
And the thing is, they'll look the same as the Umbra ones. It'll just be a template. It's not going to be anything bespoke. Ben Davies says, "Do you think Virgin or Viagra should be a shirt sponsor?"
Ben is being a naughty boy today. He's posing the question. So sorry, what was it?
Virgin or Viagra? It's very different questions, isn't it? What do you think of racism? And what would you like on your shirt, Virgin or Viagra?
He's going for the jovial. He's had the serious. Now he's going for the jovial question. Virgin or Viagra? Well, I mean, you have Virgin on there. We are a little bit wet behind the ears sometimes. We do look a little bit naive, but then we do look like we're not always up for it. So maybe Viagra might give us a shot in the arm. Well, not shot in the arm, shot somewhere else that we need.
Yeah, we'll go for Viagra. Why not? Why not? I think is the question rather than why shouldn't it be. Flight says, "Who would win in a race? Me, you, or Ryan Fredericks?"
Ryan Fredericks. But I did used to run. He used to run at 3A's level, which is hence the reason I laud and worship the altar of Chris Akabusi so much. Chris Akabusi was my youth hero, as it were. So yeah, I used to run at 3A's level. Not many people know that. So, but I would imagine now with me, me sort of crumbling t-shirt and my fat gut and me moobs, me chaps. I think Ryan Fredericks is rapid. So Ryan Fredericks is winning, certainly.
Yeah, it depends though. I mean, if Ryan Fredericks has got to run backwards, I'd quite fancy my chances, to be honest with you. He didn't say it's going to be a straightforward one. You know, Ryan Fredericks might have obstacles in his lane. So we'll put some stuff in the way of his. We might have a half chance, but I would have fancied my chances maybe 5 years ago. But not
I like those. Got any other silly questions? I like those.
If anyone's got any silly questions, chuck it into the. Actually, there was one. I wasn't going to ask it to you because I thought it was far too silly. How silly do you want it?
Oh, silly. Let's have it. Let's have it.
You want me to? I'm going to look it up so that I can name and shame the person, so that people don't think I'm making it up. Someone did genuinely ask this, but I thought it's a bit of a strange question for a cup of tea with Geo Gonzo. But if you want a strange question, Jacob. Says, "How does a man deal with his general private area? Does one let it grow, trim, or wax it off?"
Wax?
Yeah, I thought that too.
Wax? Why would you do that?
You must be a nutter, right?
You'd have to be, wouldn't you? Really? No one waxes their bits, do they? I think a little
bits would come off.
Oh yeah, it's going to be painful, isn't it? It's going to be painful. Listen, I'm a married man. I mean, it's like the Amazon down there now, but I mean, it might have been times many moons ago. Actually, that's the wrong phrase, isn't it? Many moons. A little tidy up. A little tidy up every now and again before you get lazy and married and hairy.
Yeah, certainly not waxing it like he suggests.
No.
I've never tried that, and to be perfectly honest with you, I can confirm I never will. That sounds painful. I had my this bit waxed once, and that was sore enough. I mean, it worked. It worked lovely. It all came off. It looked good.
I mean, you say once, there's nothing there still. So
No, that's because now when I go to get my hair cut, I go to like a salon, and the woman plucks my eyebrows for
I
me.
know what they've started doing. That never happened. Last 5 or 6 years, they say to me, "Do you want your eyebrows?" Well, no. Why would I want my eyebrows done? I say, "Well, you've got a little stray one."
Did you find it offensive though when they say that? Does it make you a bit?
Yeah, no, you can't. You can't.
No,
You can't. You can't offend me. But I say it's clearly annoying you. So they're all like OCD about it. So go look. If you feel the need to do it, do it. But you know what I mean? I don't want to come out with looking like a girl. Then again, because they have some girls, they don't even have all of them plucked out, and they've almost got them just with pencils, and they tie their hair back and look a bit. It's I don't want to come out looking like that, of course, which I don't, fortunately. But with some people have the back, the sack, and the crack. It's a thing. It's a thing. I think they go and they have all three waxed.
no, that's not for me. Luckily, I've never had a hairy back problem. I've not been a gorilla, so I'm okay. I've been okay.
Mine's all one. It's like a rug. It goes all the way from the front, all the way down, all the way there. I'll tell you what, you can make a coat out of it.
I've been okay. I mean, I used to shave my chest. I got tattoos, so I used to shave my chest. But to be honest,
that's a question. You're going to get a question on that.
Nah, yeah, well, I'm not stripping off or nothing. This ain't happening. So because I had tattoos, I thought. But to be honest with you, I can't be arsed most of the time. It's a bit of a hassle. Wash the razor, then you've got to wash the shower a bit more afterwards and stuff. But anyway, we need to get this is going off a tangent now anyway. No waxing anyway. Growing perspective, custard or cream?
Custard.
Depends what's with. I mean,
custard. I would eat custard with custard.
But would you have like? Oh, I don't know what I'd have cream with the most, to be honest with you. I'm struggling.
You wouldn't have a bowl of cream. I would have a bowl of custard. I have had a bowl of custard.
Custard's a really old thing. It doesn't. I don't really eat it anymore, to be honest with you.
Custard on crumble, custard on pie. Custard's nice.
Yeah, I do like it, but
Portuguese custard tarts. They got their own name. Le Portuguese custard tarts.
Is this the people or the thing?
No, it's they do them in Nando's. I like Nando's.
If you went there with your Amazon, I don't think the Portuguese tart would be very happy.
No.
She'd be like, wax, let's go.
Absolutely. You gotta be smooth to get in Nando's, mate. So yeah.
Ellie's asking if I've sorted my Everton transport. I had a nightmare. I had an absolute nightmare. About 3 weeks ago, I booked my travel for the Everton game. So in my head, we were playing Newcastle, Cardiff, Huddersfield, Everton. So I knew when the Cardiff one was because I was going to it. So I knew the date of that. So I thought, okay, the week after that's Huddersfield, and the week after that is Everton. So I booked my travel for the weekend after Huddersfield, which is essentially the last weekend. So I had it all booked, and I thought it was good. Golden. I am organised. I'm on it. And then I was speaking to Ellie, and I said something about, taking the train down on Friday, and she was like, "Why?" So football, go to the Everton game, and then she pointed out that I was a week early, so I've had to change all my travel and stuff. And the cheeky buggers, it costs you like money to change your booking that you've already paid for. It's a con. It is a con. It really annoys me. And the worst thing is, I looked up my transport coming home was originally £50, and it was costing me £10 to change it. So in theory, £60 a whole. When I looked it up for that date, it was £45. I was like, but it's cheaper. You paid £50 and we're essentially getting a £45 ticket. And they're like, no, it's still £10. I was like, fucking. Ugh. So I booked a £45 one, and I have sort of unbooked the £50 one, and I now have £50 in credit. So technically, I'm £5 up. So
Nice.
yeah,
Nice.
there for thinking, down there for dancing. But anyway,
You could probably afford a counterfeit replica shirt with that £5.
have you got one got spare?
I have actually.
I think I need a discount on that one, the melted discount.
So, nice and tight, yeah.
But anyway, is there anything you would like to discuss before we disappear?
No, I'm going to disappear. We got 2 more Ozarks left. I want to try and get them done. I won't tonight. Maybe time for one.
Was that Ozark or?
Oh, come along, for goodness sake. You've heard how hairy I am. You can imagine me, hairy old me, in me melted West Ham. It's not a pretty sight. Those days are long gone, my friend. I'll tell you that much now.
But as you remind us, you have 4 kids, so you know it was adventurous.
Actually, but you know. Anyway, now it has taken a turn. There we go.
Wham bam, thank you, ma'am. Oh, look, another one's arrived.
There you go.
Happy days. But anyway, thank you very much for joining us on this episode and strange episode of A Cup of Tea with myself and Gonzo. We'll be back tomorrow night on Thursday doing our Everton preview, where we're changing it up a little bit, which I still need to organise, to be honest. Hopefully, we'll be changing it up a little bit. If you're listening to this after 9:15 on Thursday, it's already up, so go click on it and have a little watch. If you're listening to this on Google or iTunes, make sure you subscribe to the feed. We've done a video on the survey results of the London Stadium, which is out already. It'll be on your screen right now. If you haven't already watched it. But Gonzo, would you like to say goodbye to everybody?
Goodbye to everybody.
Goodbye to everybody from me as well. Drop a like on the video if you enjoy it. Subscribe if you're new around here, and we'll see you on the Everton preview.